Hello, everyone. It is time again for the IT hour. It's Friday, first Friday in April, April 5th. Woohoo. And, it is my kitty cat, Sally, that you see once in a while, a little gray cat. She's upstairs for now, but it is her birthday today. And she is 16.
Happy birthday to
Yeah.
your kitty. And Macros is in 10 days. He's an April 15th kitty, and he will
Oh,
be 17. So he is a grizzled old man.
yeah.
And he
And
tells us
Sally.
all about
Oh, yeah. And Sally is very grouchy old lady, and she does the same. So happy early birthday to Macro.
Very
it. I will pass
nice.
the word.
Yeah. So
He is somewhat
welcome.
famous at JumpCloud for appearing in meetings because he will sit at my feet and claw my legs until I pick him up. And then I will pick him up and hold him because he's large, and then set him down, and then he will yell about it for the next 5 minutes, and everybody in the house hears that I have set him down. He's like, "You put down Macro? You put down Macro like football? Jail for father. Jail
Some
for 1,000 years."
Someday we need to bring our mascot Moon to
Yes. Oh, yes. Moon needs to make a visit to the IT hour.
Pam would be more than happy to have Moon come in and visit. If her Moon is this beautiful male pit bull who takes everybody's heart away every time he
Yes.
shows up on screen, and so
The nicest doggo. A
yes.
100% doggo. No, it was gonna say 15 out of 14, 15 out of 10. No, no notes. So
Yeah, that sounds great. Should definitely do that. Um, Dean, this is a kitty cat that we were talking about. Macro is Tom's cat. And so he's a big one, and
he's
he's
a big one.
adorable.
He's down to 18 pounds. So
All right.
solid 12. What is that? I guess that would be what, 9 kilo.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was just doing that math in my head. He's twice as big as my cat.
Yeah, absolutely. So I should take a step back and say hello, everyone. I'm Becky Scott. I'm the head of community at JumpCloud, and we've got Urvashi, our technical champion, just joined. And welcome back, Derek. Good to have you on here again. And everybody remembers Tom. He is a frequent guest on the IT Hour, and we're glad to have you back as well.
Yeah,
So
thrilled to be here as always. And I was going to say, this is such a great opportunity to talk with everybody about the cool stuff that we're building and all of the awesome stuff. So we got some cool stuff to show today.
yeah, we've got a lot of the regulars here. Let's see, we've got Alan and Nathan and Sonia and Luke. Sam, welcome back. Mike, Jacob, two Jacobs. Ooh, two are better than one. And Ricky, hey there. Brian, Dean, Augusto, Matt, Matthew, couple of Matthews. So we are rolling with the crowd today. So welcome, everyone. We're glad to have you. Yeah, roll call. I'm trying to do that more often to recognize everyone that's here. And if we miss you, you are always welcome to say hello in the chat. So thanks everybody for joining us. And I know Tom has limited time today, so we are going to jump straight into the topic of the hour, and then we'll come back to community and product updates and the IT news. So Derek and Tom are here to talk about, I think, something that people have been anticipating: temporary elevated device privileges. So what do we have here? Tell us all about it.
Let me take it away. So I've asked Tom to join me for this ride today because he and I are going to do a little tag team demo. Let my screen pull up a little bit. There we go. And so for those of you that, it's been a bit since I've been in here, and I usually come in and talk about dynamic groups and things automation or orchestration related. And today I'm going to come in and talk a little bit about temporary elevated device privileges. And this is another kind of key component that we felt like was going to add a tremendous amount of value to our customers in the way that they want to manage their security posture related to elevated privileges on devices for users. And so we're going to jump right into it. So why are we here? At the end of the day, we know that IT admins are enhancing their security posture by removing elevated privileges on devices, or at least want to have more control over when those elevated privileges are applied. And they also want an easy way to still provide elevated privileges on an as-needed basis. It can't be overly difficult. And so we tried to really focus on those two things. You can do this use case today in JumpCloud before we introduced this capability. It was a manual process. You had the ability to elevate a device privilege for a user that was bound to a device, and it was across any OS family. But at the same time, when that work was finished, the admin had to remember to go in and remove that privilege. And so this is making it much easier for you to have a way to where you can set a time and forget it and move on to the next task and be confident that the privilege would be revoked once that time period runs out. So that's what we're after. Key capabilities. This is kind of my get out of jail free slide in case the demo gods are not good to us. And so it's got a few screenshots on here, but the key capabilities are really around managing that user privilege, being able to automate the privilege expiration, and then giving you a series of data insights events so that you can track the events on when it started, when it was taken away. And you can prove that through the event and troubleshoot through the event. So that's the main capabilities. So that was super short, just a couple of slides. Let's jump right into the demo itself. And so can you guys still see my screen okay?
Yep, looks great.
Oh, perfect. So I'm just logged into a test account. This is in production. Should be the same view that you see today. And there's two paths that you can get to temporary elevated privileges. And I'm going to go down the user's path today. And I'm just logged in as a regular admin. And so for today's demo, Tom will be playing the role of Sam. He's a Mac user extraordinaire. We all know that about Tom. And I'm going to stay in character of Derek, the IT admin, to make it easy for Tom whenever he passes it back to me so that he doesn't have to remember somebody's name. So I'm going to type in Sam. Sam is already in here as a user. And up you see Sam, and I'm just on the highlights page. And I'm going to jump over here to devices. And so you can see that Sam has access to several devices. But the one I'm interested in elevating Sam's privilege on is this one here. And so before I do that, Tom, do you want to share your screen and just kind of show what you're up to? And
yeah. And let me go ahead and share my screen here, and you can drop your screen share. And I think you actually need to drop it first so that I can do that.
There it is. The big button in front of
you. All
me.
right. Yeah. So I'm going to share my screen, and this is, my laptop. I'm here on, on my laptop. I want to get some stuff done. Let's say I'm an engineer. Let's say that I need some tools to do my job. Like I need the ability for Terminal to access the entire disk, or I need the ability for, to install BBEdit and things along those lines here. So, here I am on my screen, Derek, and, I really want to copy this in, but I'm not an admin. I can't do that yet. Or I want to go in here into system preferences and, dive in and say, hey, look, I really want to go into privacy and security, and I want to go into full disk access. And, I want to hit this button. I want to hit terminal, but I'm not an admin. Can you make me an admin? I really need to do these things so I can do my job.
I can't. How long do you think you need for this, Sam?
Oh, I don't know. A couple of minutes would be fine.
Okay, so perfect. Well, why don't you let me share my screen again?
Yep, I will drop my screen share here and stop sharing.
Perfect. I'm going to go back where we were. There we go. All right. So I'm going to go in here to this edit icon where it says no elevated permissions. And this is the same device that Sam was looking at earlier. And up pops this modal that says no elevated permissions, administrator sudo access, or passwordless sudo. I'm going to just go ahead and click the administrator sudo access. And Sam said he needed about a couple of minutes. So I'm going to give Sam 10 minutes. Note that we have this allow up to 10 minutes for this change to take effect. This mainly happens on the revocation side. It doesn't happen on the grant side. The grant side should be instantaneous. But we put this wording here just to give you a heads up that the change may take some time to take place. And so I'm going to click apply, and always remember to save the user. So I'm going to click
That's the
save.
thing that catches me every now and again. You got to make sure to hit save, or otherwise it doesn't work.
And so you notice the toaster at the top that Sam was saved. So let's go back in and just look at Sam real quick before we pass it back over to Sam so he can show you what he's up to. And you notice down here, it now says administrator sudo access. And then it also has the remaining time left. Another way that you can find the remaining time is if I click on the edit icon again, if I wanted to change it, you'll notice that this 10 minutes remaining is here as well. And so with that note, I'm going to pass it back over to Sam.
Awesome.
And he's going to show you all the cool admin-y things he can do.
Cool. And I'm going to dive right in. And so now you can see on my screen, I'm, back here. I really need to sudo into my terminal session so that I can do some stuff. Sweet. I've got root that I didn't have before. I can copy in my application, which I wasn't able to do before. And then, the other thing that I was really interested in doing was privacy and security and, giving myself a little bit of full disk access here for my terminal. And now I can be the admin at that point. And then, hey, Derek, I think I've done what I need to do. Are you cool? Or do you want to, revoke my permissions real quick?
You know what, man? I'm off doing 15 other things at this point as a very busy admin. And I gave you 10 minutes. I trust that you're not going to do anything else, within that 10 minutes. And so I'm gonna let it expire on its own. But let's say that I did want to go ahead and cancel it. So let me share my screen again. All right. So I'm just going to refresh my screen. And I'm going to go back to devices. And if I wanted to go ahead, notice it says 8 minutes left. So you can see the timer kind of ticking down on Sam there. If I wanted to go in and cancel it, I absolutely could, right? I would just click on no elevated permissions and I would go through the save flow. And in fact, let's go ahead and do that because I want to show you some different scenarios and flows of how this works. So I'm going to click apply and I'm going to click save user. I'm going to go back into Sam. He disappeared out of my search. So I'm going to go back to that device. And so you notice that it says no elevated permissions. But let's say that I had given Sam a permanent elevated privilege, right? And so this is mimicking the behavior of what you already had or what we already had at JumpCloud, right? It was binary. It was either you give it to him permanently or you take it away completely, right? So I'm going to go ahead and apply that here. Well, if I wanted to then change Sam's privilege to something besides permanent, what I would have to do is I would have to first remove it completely and then apply a time period. And so I just want you to know that flow change is there, that logically it made most sense for us on a back-end perspective to, if it's permanent, you need to remove it first if you then want to set it on a temporary basis. Or even if you want to change it to like passwordless sudo, you need to remove it completely, save that user, and then go back in and be able to see it. And so just wanted you to see that little level of detail. The other thing I want to show you guys is you can also get to this capability via the devices flow. So I was showing you everything from the users page. If I go over to the devices page and I click on devices and I look for that device that we were talking about earlier. So now I'm on the device details page and notice the beautiful new full page view that I think Mr. McGrath came in and talked about fairly recently. So this is all in production today. And so you see that there, but I could click on this users tab and I could go to Sam from this way and I could perform the same task. And so I could change the elevated privilege from that direction as well. So I just wanted you guys to see that. And then the other thing I want to show you is if I go down here to directory, I want to show you, I've got it already set to the last 7 days. I want to show you the events that are applicable here. So there's association change. There is down at the bottom, user admin granted and user admin revoked. So if I get rid of my little screen there. So you can see that these are the events that you're looking for. And within that JSON, you'll be able to see an expiration timestamp, and you'll be able to see that it was a temporary change. And so those details should be there in the DI events. We've got a few things that we need to clean up here still. We're seeing some wonkiness in some of the events and the data actually flowing all the way through, and we have some bugs that we're fixing around that. We also are in the process, like one of the first questions I know you guys are going to ask is, can I do this via API? And the answer is absolutely. But we needed to get a couple more stories or tasks out the door before we get that exposed in the right place. But that'll be coming very shortly. I was hoping it was going to be this week. It'll probably be next week, and we'll post something in the community once that's up and available, because I know that that's going to be really important for a lot of customers. So that's what I wanted to show around temporary elevated privileges. But what I wanted to do before we jumped into questions is I want to tease a little bit around where we're going past this. Because if you think about this use case, this is a very tiny portion of a much larger use case, which is more around self-serve and request approval. So I'm going to hop back over here, and I just want to walk you through one slide, right? And it's, as an organization, I want my users to easily get access to the resources that they need, but I want all this to happen within the context of JumpCloud, and I want to be able to track it within the context of JumpCloud. So I'm a user, and I need to request something. I need to request access to a resource. That resource could be an application. It could be another device that I don't have access to. It could be Radius. It could be a different resource altogether. But I need to ask for, or I need to request access. That could be a role change to something that I already have access to. It could be a permission change, much like what we just went through, right? I already have access to a device, and I just need a permission change for that device. And so based upon being able to request something, we want to be able to configure a route for that request to occur based upon who I am, my identity, and what I'm requesting. So I want a configurable flow that's automated to the right person to make that decision, or for it to be completely automated based upon who I am and what I've asked for, right? And so if it's an auto approval, it would automatically go through. If it required an approval, I would have an IT admin or a delegate be able to approve that. We know that we need an end product approval queue in order to achieve that. These are things that don't exist today within JumpCloud: the ability to request something, the ability to approve something. And so again, once that decision is made, the action is automated and taken. And so you can see where automated or temporary elevated privileges fits within this flow. Eventually, we will get to a place where it's up to you, the admin, to decide, do you want your users to self-serve into temporary elevated privileges on a just-in-time, as-needed basis? Or do you require an approval to take place? The same thing could apply to access to other resources or changes that need to occur within our environment. Now, we're not going to have all of this in 2024, but I want you guys to understand that this was just the beginning of us starting the journey down this path. And in the latter half of 2024, you'll see us start to execute these things. And so I wanted to share that little bit of information, because one of the first questions that I think you guys are going to ask is, but Derek, this is really great, but I still have to go in and intentionally make these steps, right? Or make these changes. What you really want is to be able to get to a place where it can be as automated as much as you want it to be. So I'll pause there. And that's all the content I had to cover. Let me stop sharing my screen.
Do we have questions for you? Lots of them. Okay, so let me go back and find them. Let's see. Sam had said that he had seen it already, but had a question. Is there a way to restrict this to certain admins? So let's say L1 cannot provide this, but L2 can.
So there is no restriction at the admin level yet. And if you're an admin, you basically have the capability to do this. Also, the manager role should have the ability to do this. and the help desk role will have the ability to do this. But we're in the second half of the year, one of the things we're going to be revisiting is scopes in terms of the different kind of roles within the admin portal. And so you'll see us be making some changes and give more configurability as to who can do this and who can't. Because I hear you loud and clear that you would definitely want certain admins to have this capability, but not others.
Yeah, and that actually answered the second question from Stephen about their help desk and managers not being,
Right now, there was a bug related to the manager role and the help desk role. And again, that's one of the things that should have been fixed this week and is probably going to get pushed into next week. But it should work fully for the admin role. And specifically on the manager role, the bug that we have, managers should be able to do what they were already doing before temporary elevated privileges. They should be able to select that permanent until removed choice and it saved correctly. Because that's giving you a permanent elevated privilege. It's the temporary part that we needed to go fix the bug on. And so that should be coming very shortly.
Great. And Luke, and I think a couple of others had mentioned about what sort of logging is available.
Right. So right now, the only logging that's available is the logs that are associated with the grant and the revocation and those events specifically. And Tom, I'm going to let you kind of take this one and talk a little bit more.
I want to talk more about this because I think that there's what the directory insights events give you is your time frame. They give you your execution path. The logging tools on macOS and Windows, that means you don't have to look through every log stamp for a given period. What you have to look at is for the very tiny period where they have admin access and where you can see what are the access grants and rights that are listed as appropriate for this. And I'm going to speak to this from my Apple knowledge because that's where my space is. When you're using the log command for macOS, and you can call this command directly from JumpCloud, as a matter of fact, you can just say, hey, show me the system log from that 10-minute period. And show me the period where I said, yes, I granted the access rights for terminal to full disk access. Yes, I granted the access rights so that I could install an application into the applications folder. But you can see it was BBEdit and not Steam. So they're not goofing off at work unless you consider BBEdit goofing off. I kind of do. I think their regex tools are so good that I just go and twiddle bits and while I play around with all of that. But those are things that you can do. It really kind of limits the amount that you actually have to evaluate as an admin and really kind of takes it down to here's the 10-minute space that's there. So that's really how we are approaching this today. That's not the only way to approach this problem. And we certainly hear, I would love to see feature requests for more information about all of these things from the platform. That's what really lets us kind of prioritize some of the enhancements that we're considering for all of this.
Because we've talked about ingesting other logs into the JumpCloud view and experience, and we just haven't gone there yet. And so if that's somewhere where you feel strongly that you want us to go and you want to be able to consume those logs through JumpCloud, let's have that conversation. Like, please submit a feature request and let's go there.
Yeah, would love to see that.
Yep.
Becky, I'm not getting audio from you.
That's because I'm muted. Urvashi, that's a good cue for you to drop that link of the feature request. There's actually a question on YouTube, and they wanted to know, can privileges be assigned more granularly? I think from the conversation I'm seeing in the chat as well, that it might be more about like when you're giving someone admin, it's just kind of carte blanche.
It is carte blanche today. Yes. And that is, that is where we're limited by the operating systems that we're working with for the moment.
Yeah. One of the things that we've seen in market, though, that I think is interesting is the ability to grant admin to run a particular application or to load a particular application. And I think that's an interesting concept that, some of the point solutions out there have that's really cool. Like, that way it's not carte blanche, it's only within the context of the task at hand. And so that's one of the things that we're looking at is ways that we can expand this use case and go down that path. But again, I would encourage you, Like for most of our customers, we believe that this approach is the right approach. But if you feel differently and you want to be able to see that level of granularity, please again submit a feature request, because that'll help us be able to make some of those decisions.
Cool. And I think this plays right into Luke's question about the user having to log out, because he found in Windows OS, admin functions will persist for a user on a Windows device until the user logs out.
I am so glad that Luke asked that question, because I forgot to mention it whenever we were going through the demo. So Windows always presents us with fun little challenges within the environment. And what we found in our testing is it's extremely inconsistent. And so that goes for both the grant and the revocation. On the grant, if the user doesn't log out and log back in, we've noticed that there's some things that the admin role, some things that they should be able to do with the admin role that they've been granted, but they can't. When they log out and they log back in, they have the full admin suite. Same thing on the revocation. On the revocation side, there's things that they can still do, but in order for the change to completely take place, they have to log out and log back in. Now, all of that said, we want to go explore this further. We think that there is a way that we can find to be able to make it to where this log out and log back in is not necessary. And this is only for Windows devices. So I would encourage you to test and see what your experience is. But our official recommendation is that in order for the change to completely take place, you need to log out and log back in. Do you have anything to add there, Tom? Am I missing anything?
Nope, I think you got it.
Cool. This is going to be a fun one. Dean wants to know, because Dean's been kind of playing with us in the comments anyway, about, I don't know, reformat drive. I don't know what happened. But this one's an interesting one. If you allow end users to access admin when they want to, what prevents a rogue app from emulating this request? Like the future things that you were talking about,
Mm-hmm.
about them requesting it when they want to.
We would make that completely configurable to the admin. Like, we're not going to go create a self-serve capability and force it upon the customers. Like, you're going to opt into that. And so if you want there to be an approval process and you want a more secure environment, we're always going to enable that. We've just seen lots of customers say, hey, I trust my users. I make them sign a disclosure. I don't want to manage them going in and out of elevated privileges. And maybe it's only for certain users, and we want to give you that configurability as well. Like, let's say you're an engineer and that's your role. If you're in the engineering group, we want to let you self-serve in and out of an elevated privilege because we trust you as an engineer, but we don't want to leave it open all the time. So we're going to be mindful of that from a configurability perspective. But we do hear enough from customers that they want a self-serve capability. They at least want the option of a self-serve capability.
Yeah. So, on the back end, Dean, ask a really important question. What's to prevent a rogue app from emulating that request? And the answer is you're not going to have access to any of the right keys to do this to do this action on the device itself. The device itself is not actually that agent to JumpCloud channel is heavily secured. And so the only way to make those requests is either from the JumpCloud API, which requires an API key, which is monitored by security. And hopefully if you're keeping good track of your API keys and making sure that those are stored securely, those are a big part of, this particular space. And the other piece of this is when we have the flow that will, say, hey, I want to be able to use an admin, that's also going to flow through that same secured channel back to JumpCloud admins, back through that space. And that channel is sacrosanct. Because for us, we understand how much that channel can accomplish. It is a very sensitive place to operate, and that requires that entire process. So, I love Ross's quote on the screen right now. I trust my users, but security never does, and that is their job.
And that's why we want to give you the choice, right? Because some organizations absolutely fall into your camp. But there are organizations out there, like I was talking to an MSP the other day, a managed service provider who has several clients, and 5 of their clients have the position that they want to self-serve. They don't want to manage it, but they still want control around it. And so I think it just depends upon what your security posture looks like for your organization.
Yeah, and the difference between like a really small org where they know every single user versus a slightly larger company where, when you start hiring left and right, you may not know yet which users you can trust versus the ones that know what they're doing. Like, you may have engineers who know exactly what to do, and you may have, other users who are maybe new in career or something that haven't figured it all out yet.
Or you have users who are very old in the career. Derek raises his hand, and still I would not trust me with admin privileges on my device all the time because I'd screw something up. I mean, that's just reality, right? And so again, I think it goes down to the preference of the organization and the makeup of the organization, to your point, Becky.
Mm-hmm. So what we were talking about just then rolls into Joe's question about what if we don't want this at all?
That isn't something that we baked into the system, but I would be open to that conversation. And so the question I would ask in return is, before we offered or introduced the temporary capability, you as an admin already had the ability to permanently elevate a privilege and remove it. And so that I can't take away. The only thing that we could talk about taking away is the temporary component. And I'd want to understand more why you would want to do that if you still already had the permanent capability. Does that make sense?
Yeah, Joe, if you want to put a little bit more in the comments, or, if you want to talk about this after the fact,
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to jump on a call too.
Yeah. Alrighty then. We may have already answered some of this for Luke. It's a really long one, so I'll put part of it up, but curious what the roadmap will be for future expansion for this as well. You talked a little bit about that. We've previously had this set up via API, though less pretty and user-friendly than having it native. GUI looks very nice, but lack of logging and requiring logout was prohibitive for us. Admin by request, auto elevate, and maybe threat locker are able to elevate processes or provide temp admin without requiring user logouts to remove permissions.
Yep. And that was what we were talking about before, is we want to go chase this one. We feel like we can find the path in terms of not requiring that log out or log in to be certain. And it's a time thing. Like, we want to go, Tom and I talk about this pretty often, and we very much want to get our labs team focused on it and get them going and try to help us figure this out.
Yep.
Yeah, like, is there something about like forcing a reboot or something that would force them to log out?
We talked about that.
That's kind of,
Yes. Well, we talked about killing user session.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about, essentially saying at the conclusion of this period, we're going to warn you for a couple of minutes and then we're going to kill your session. That has too many risks. That has too much.
Yeah. And think about a Linux experience today. That's kind of what happens, right? Like, I'm in there and all of a sudden, poof, whatever, I'm out. Like, I'm not in there anymore. Yeah. And so we are mindful that we want to create a better experience around that. And Correct. So we've got some work to do still.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we already answered this one from Shane, because it's all elevated actions documented and logged. I think it was just the, I think people want to know what their users are doing while they're an admin, like not just the fact that, okay, we've elevated your privileges and given you this for 10 minutes, but what are the people doing while they're an admin, just to make sure that, there's nothing weird going on. There was a joke in the comments about downloading Steam and renaming it explorer.exe or something like that to kind of sneak in some things. So is there, something that's tracking what they're doing while they're an admin?
Yeah. And today there's not. They would have to go through their operating system logs to be able to see that. And so I think the future request is the right direction to point us.
Gotcha. And Sam's making an interesting comment about seeing a use case for turning it off completely. Proper documentation and approvals are required at my company, and our compliance auditors ask directly who has admin access to systems, and this would require extra work on his end to provide proper documentation for every admin elevation during the review period.
Okay.
So from a compliance perspective, that it might be easier for certain companies to just turn it off completely so they don't have to deal with that during
Okay.
audits and stuff.
That's good feedback. And I see Joe in there as well. No one is admin. And you've got more control over it because it's a permanent setting where you feel like because of temporary, that might open up other holes that you would have to go solve for in your compliance reporting, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. Let me read that for YouTube. Yes, we have the ability to elevate admin permanently now, but we do not. Despite being a small org and trusting users, we still know mistakes can be made. At previous orgs, I sometimes found users would install secondary things if giving temp privileges.
Mm-hmm.
We totally hear you on that front. And this is a trust but verify kind of environment. And it's going to be part of a run book that you have to establish. If you have compliance requirements, you're going to have to check the work that's associated with that. I think there's probably some work for Derek and I do to provide like a community post here in terms of how you evaluate what happened on a system during that 10-minute period. And I think that we can take that to heart and work to provide that over a short period of time.
Yeah, and Shane's saying that's why they elevate with IT in a video conference now.
Which I love. I think I mean the other way to do this is with a remote remote assist session today.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can see their screen during that period. Joe, I hear you'd like a lot of logging for that. I don't think you actually do. I think what you want are log tasks that required admin rights. Otherwise, you're going to be looking at a fire hose of data. What you need to know is what they needed admin privileges to accomplish at that spot. And that is a very, very small subset of those logs. It is not a fire hose.
Yeah, Joe's saying right. So I think the request is the biggest part, right? Like you need to really justify why you need this, and then maybe a little bit of logging to confirm that they're doing what they said they were going to do, but not going a little bit rogue. And Kelly says she's doing exactly what you were talking about, Tom. Elevate over screen sharing and literally watch what they do with that. But again, does that really scale, in a big org? So let's say your company grows, you go from, in a year or two, you go from 500 to 1,500 seats, and you get, multiple people asking for that. How are you going to scale things like that? So thinking to the future, yeah, you can watch people when you've got under 500, but when you go from 1,500 to 2,500 to 5,000, then what are you going to do?
Right. Yep.
That's a lot hairier.
I agree. I think that's something that we definitely can take to heart and go look at.
Yep, for sure. I definitely think that would be great. Unfortunately, friends, I have to disappear. I have to turn into a pumpkin. It's Friday. My son's off school, and we're going to go to lunch. So thank you, as always, IT Hour friends, and I will see you guys soon.
Yeah, bye, thanks, Tom. Appreciate you. All right, Derek, if you have these comments are still rolling in. So if you have
I'm good.
All right.
Yeah, let's keep going.
All right. So Jonathan says remote session that's recorded for any contractors need access to do their thing. Beats babysitting them. So that's one way. And Luke says what they need admin rights to, but also anything else the system did while having admin rights. Some examples out there of malware lying in wait for elevated permissions. Yeah. I think
I think that would fall into the camp though of things that were executable because of the admin change, right? Because of the elevated privilege. And so that would fall into the camp though, to Tom's point earlier, of that thinner bucket of things or data to be able to see. And so I think that would definitely fall into that camp.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Jacob is kind of replying to Sam. For Sam's question, how is temp admin any different from what you have now? Currently, you are just manually enabling and disabling admin. That just automates removal of admin. So let me go back and find which of Sam's questions.
It goes back to disabling it altogether.
Yeah.
Interpretation.
Case for turning it off completely. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's, and he also says after that, you would still have to keep track of all of them in the same way. Mm-hmm. It's just the automation makes it a little bit easier to do it. And Shane says it would not scale. That's why a feature to go to grab those logs and alert on them would be great.
Mhm.
So that's going a little step further, right? Is that alert on those logs?
One of the things that we've talked about in the context of kind of more alerting and more like another thing that I don't have a slide on it, but that we've talked about that'll be here in the latter part of 2024 is more alerting and more notification around events that are occurring within the platform. I'd be curious to understand that one a little bit better. Are they looking for alerts around the granting and revocation, or are they looking for alerts around certain things that are happening on the device once the privilege is granted?
No, collecting for review.
Okay. Okay. So again, like we're going to be in a position later this year to where we can build more alerting and notification capabilities around an event like this, where let's say you've got a series or you've got several admins and you want to alert or you want something to go into a Slack channel, or you want it to go into your ticketing system every time that someone is granted an elevated privilege. But again, I go back to the bigger use case of request approval. What I really want is to give you the ability to track it all the way through, and you can have as much granularity as you want within that process. And events are going to be triggered at every step of the way. When we go down this alerting and notification path, to be able to give you the configurability to put alerts around those different events. So,
yeah. And Sam added some more in the chat about some of his stuff. We don't elevate admin rights at all. We remote connect to the user system and install what was asked for, no more.
mm-hmm.
And then we have also set up all approved applications on a SaaS platform that we can push to the user system with a click of a button, so we don't have to remote connect. I think those are some great things, especially the push, because what I was going to say about the remote connect is, again, that scalability. When you've got 5,000 users and they're all asking for different things. Oh, I need this software. Oh, I need that software. Depending on how many people you have on your IT team, that isn't always scalable. So, at some orgs I've worked for, they have a repository of those approved applications that we could just go get, and they were pre-approved, and we could just go grab them, and those are preset as these are okay to download and install. These are good, no issues. So
Becky, when the time is right for Sirhat and the Resmo guys to come in here to IT Hour,
end of the month.
Make that happen. You guys are gonna love where Sirhat's head is and what he's talking about from a SaaS management standpoint. So stay tuned there, because I think a lot of the things that you just said fall directly into the camp of the things that he's focused on. So.
Mm-hmm. And Stephen is saying, asking Sam what platform he's using, and he thought JumpCloud would have this since we have software management. And Urvashi replied to him saying that the private repo kind of addresses some of that. So I think, Stephen, if you haven't checked out the new private repo, it just went GA not too long ago. You have space to put some software in your private repo for that very purpose of being able to deploy it to your users. So Jacob's saying true, but we also need the ability to manage software updates.
Which is coming soon ish. But coming for sure.
Yeah.
Conditions apply.
Yeah,
terms and conditions apply. Let's see. Ross says, I can answer how many people you have on your IT team. It's never enough. True enough.
For real security, you need like a one-to-one correlation between the IT admin and the end user. That's real security. Just sit behind them. The only way to know for sure.
Oh, Jonathan asked about the asked about the temp admin sessions, and I think you saw when Derek was sharing that it did show the time remaining. I
It
don't know
does.
if you missed that, Jonathan.
It's definitely there. So you find it in two ways. You find it right underneath where you go edit the privilege at either through the user flow or the device flow. And then you'll also see it on the modal itself. Once you click that edit button, if you've already have a temporary elevated privilege established for that user on that device, it'll show you how much time remains on that session.
Oh, he mentioned on the home screen. Can you see it from the home screen?
You cannot see it from the home screen. The only place that you're going to see, and if you think about like let me share my screen again.
So you're going to have to remember who you gave the privileges to and look there.
Yes. And the reason why it's not, so like if I go down the devices path, let's start there. If I go down to the devices path and I click on the devices tab and I go back to that this device, right? So for this device, there could be multiple users on this device, right? In this case, I only have one bound user and it's Sam. And so, but if I'm at the highlights, I'm on kind of that home screen view. This is on a user by user basis that this privilege is provided. It's not on the device itself for every user that's on that device. And so that's one of the reasons why today you have to go all the way to the users tab and you have to go to the actual user who has it elevated. And so in this case, it was going to be Sam. Now, if I go down the users path, it's the same issue, right? If I'm on users and I go to Sam and I click on Sam, Sam could have multiple devices, right? Some he's elevated, some he's not. And so again, it would be right here underneath this view of Sam, of this device specifically for Sam. And so we had to be mindful of that match of user to device that they're already bound to. And that's why we can't, it's more difficult for us to show it at a higher level. Now, all of that said, we're exploring better ways to give you visualizations of who has these elevated privileges for a temporary period of time. From a scale standpoint, completely recognize that a wonderful view would be, hey, show me all the users that have an elevated privilege right now. And I can easily manage it from there. And that's something that we're poking at. So does that help?
Awesome. I think that answered it. Let's see.
Yeah, home screen user notification shows users with admin. Would be nice to see it there. Yep, that's one of the places that we were looking at.
Yeah, especially with the time remaining, so you know.
The other thing that we want to do is we want to make it better for the user. Like we are always so mindful of you guys as the admins, right? And so think about this poor user who right now we're relying upon you, the admin, to tell them that they have this elevated privilege. We also want to go start working on how do we notify the user within their session that they have this elevated privilege and specifically how much time they have left and then when it goes away. And there's some great examples that are already out there that we can emulate. And so we're actively looking at those as well from an improvement standpoint. Oh, you're muted, Becky.
Of course I am, because I was clearing my throat. I could also see where is there a countdown for the user themselves too, so they know how much time is left?
That's what I'm saying. There's not, right? And that's what we want to go do is really focus on the user and the next instantiation of this and give them better clarity around A, the fact that they have it, and then B, how much time they have left.
Like a big counter, like you have this much time left. Beep,
I
beep.
think even like admin by request does a good job of this, and it's a good example that we've seen out there. That's a point solution where they have like this little timer that's right there on the bottom, and it's really easy for the user to know, hey, I was granted 15 minutes. It pops up, and then I've got my 15 minutes, and then I can close it out too. Like I can just hit stop, and it removes the privilege. It revokes it back down. But it makes you very aware as a user. And so that's something that we're looking at that we potentially want to incorporate.
I could see where you'd have to be careful with that and let them know that if they close the timer, they're actually closing their request.
Correct. But it makes it very clear. It's like stop, de-elevate or revoke privilege. It's got some wording there that makes it very clear as to what they're doing. But
Oh, that's an interesting comment, Luke.
less MSP friendly than auto.
Please just acquire admin by request.
I
like that.
If
Alrighty.
only I had the money.
Not about the money. Okay.
Right?
Yeah,
I just said I'm gonna start a GoFundMe for that now.
There you go.
JumpCloud acquire admin by request. Every dollar counts.
Absolutely. Wow, we've had some really great comments and questions in here. I mean, thank you for all the feedback. This is why Derek and company come onto the IT Hour, is to share with you what's going on, but also all of this feedback is super valuable, and this will help shape like the future iterations and what we add next. So super helpful, and putting those in feature requests like Urvashi's been pushing helps them aggregate all of those requests and make sure that they're in the system so we can help prioritize so that way they don't get forgotten.
We have so much great work that's in flight, and so we have to manage all of the things that we want to go improve upon and experiences we want to create, and those feature requests are so huge for us. And the more detail you put in there, it makes it that much easier for us to really be able to use it as a prioritization tool. So rest assured that they don't fall into a black hole. They absolutely get leveraged on a daily basis. So
yeah, so just keep putting those in there. And if you all have if multiple of you have the same feature request, that's actually better. I know y'all have asked for visibility and things like that, and we're still going to try and push that so that y'all can just say, yeah, what they said. But in the meantime, please go ahead and do those. We really need those. And we've got about 7 minutes left. What I'm going to do is we already put the community highlights and things in the show notes. So we'll just do that. I do want to make a note that Derek has made a post about the temporary elevated privileges in the community. And Trevor has made a post about a federation when he was on here last week. So he made a post about that, going over the key pieces of it and what the benefits are. So you can go read that too, and you can also watch last week's IT Hour to find out more about that. And we have a couple minutes to do some IT news if you would like to do that, Urvashi.
I can do the super speedy version. First of all, I would like to announce personally that we haven't had any CISA notifications all of March. So congrats, global community. Or nobody's been caught, but hey, nobody's announced anything. So that's a good first step as we get into Q2. Next up, an old SEO scam has a new AI-generated face. So this is from Engadget, and they say that over the years, Engadget has been the target of a common SEO scam where someone claims ownership of an image and demands a link back to a particular website, obviously to boost their SEO. A lot of other websites will tell you the same thing, but now scammers are making their fake DMCA takedown notices and threats of legal action look more legit with the help of easily accessible AI. So apparently, they will get a copyright infringement notice via email from a law firm called Commonwealth Legal, which is fake. And all of the lawyers, like mentioned on that website, are all AI generated. So it's a fake law firm with fake lawyers sending out fake takedown notices, and also that they can improve their SEO. Why do we bother creating content, Becky? Let's just set up.
Visible. Look at this. Visible and clickable link to a website called Tech for Gods underneath the photo that was allegedly stolen. Poor Engadget, you know?
Why do we bother like creating content, Becky? Let's just set up a fake, like law firm. Or it can just be like JumpCloud legal for real legal reasons. That was a joke. Moving on. So the EU is really punching some big punches to all of the big tech giants. And so finally, Microsoft splits up Teams and Office apps worldwide after the EU split. So months after unbundling the apps in the European Union, Microsoft is taking the Office and Teams breakup worldwide. So Reuters reported that Microsoft will begin selling Teams and other Microsoft 365 apps to new commercial customers as separate products with separate price tags beginning April 2nd. But from what I hear on the internet, thank God we don't use it, but I hear that Teams is not everybody's favorite. And like the Teams notification, triggering people's anxiety is like a TikTok trend. So the unbundling is a win for other team communication apps like Slack and video conferencing apps like Zoom, both of which predate Teams but haven't had the benefits of the Office app's huge established user base. So hopefully that's gonna do some real good in the world. Good job, EU. Proud of you.
I wonder if that's going to help pricing or just make Microsoft charge more for the individual bundles.
I think it'll be the second for sure.
Yeah.
That would fit the MO. So,
But
that's
hopefully,
awesome. It's awesome to see somebody doing it in that breakup. I mean, because we've all experienced it. I've been in a Microsoft shop many a time like that, and we had a very heartfelt breakup with the tools that we were used to, and we're forced down this path. So
yeah, sometimes I don't want to get the whole bundle. I just want to get one or two things. I don't need all of it.
Ross says there was an article that says it's cheap now, but if you add Teams later, then Teams is actually going to cost you more. That is so vindictive. Yes. That is vindictive pricing 101 to be like, oh, the other app didn't work out for you. Well, guess what? Here's a 150% markup. Yay. Talk about petty revenge. Anyway, this one is actually a really long write-up, but you should just go and like read the article because I'm going to post it in the show notes. But basically, it's a story of how one volunteer stopped a backdoor from exposing Linux systems worldwide. So it's a pretty cool story about how this volunteer was poking around and found something that could be a backdoor and like notified the people that needed to be notified and saved the day. So it's quite a cool tech superhero story. I'm not going to read the whole thing out, but you should read all of it afterwards. And this is my favorite news for today because I don't know if I want to laugh or cry or like set something on fire. I don't know. I can't. Palmsy is a fake social network that will send you fake likes to make you feel special. Quoting Gizmodo. A new social networking app named Palmsy wants you to know that you don't need to have thousands of followers or be a celebrity to get a lot of likes on social media. In fact, it'll send you all the likes you want. There's just one catch. They're fake. However, the likes on Palmsy aren't the only thing that's fake. Although it looks like a social media app, it's hard to call it that, but you're essentially talking and interacting with yourself. You can post on Palmsy, but those posts don't go out to anyone, just as God intended. Quote from Gizmodo. When it comes to the likes, the app simply sends you notifications by pulling random names from your phone's contact list. Those people haven't really liked your post, though. They've never seen it.
The biggest troll.
Phone, it would be like, Kumar Electrician has liked your post, or like the one store that I went to that one time that I had to call beforehand.
Joe the plumber.
The app is called the new Ponzi scheme. It's called Palmsy. Sorry, but good wordplay there.
I mean, maybe that is what it's supposed to Like it says Palmsy, but maybe it's supposed to sound like Ponzi.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's funny. But what does it really do? Like if it's accessing your contacts,
The
I mean,
article says
I'm a
that the
skeptic.
developer, the article says that the developer created it because he wanted to like simulate the rush, the dopamine rush that you get when you see like when you see likes. So it's kind of like a cure for your dopamine addiction without having to actually post anything. So now, friends, all my cringe poetry that I write in the middle of the night is going to be up on Bouncy, only for me to see. And Joe the plumber and Kumar the electrician are going to be liking it.
I I understand it. I think it's funny. Like it's hilarious, but there's still this piece of me that says what's really what's really going on with that information and the access to your devices, and if it's grabbing your contacts, what else is it grabbing? See,
Well, if nobody
I'm
had
just
thought
too
of it,
jaded at this point.
they are thinking of it now. So thank you, Becky, for helping ignite the fire.
Now
Just going
you've
to set
ruined
up
my
a
buzz,
back
Becky.
door.
You've
I know,
ruined
I
the
just killed all
plan
your
that started
dopamine,
with
huh? Sorry.
it.
I
Well, yeah. Looking
mean,
at you, TikTok. Yeah.
and
Yes,
also,
Joss.
well, okay, so it's cute that it gives you that dopamine rush, but then does that kind of make you more insular where you're so busy doing that dopamine rush? It's like a rat pressing the thing to where they getting more and more addicted to cocaine because they keep.
It's just one step closer to the
Now,
matrix, and it all being contained within the matrix. So you get all your dopamine from the matrix. You're good to go. Isn't it the
I'm
30th
just,
anniversary of the Matrix? Did I read that recently,
oh
or
my God.
a big
30th or
anniversary?
35th,
Yeah.
something like that. It is quite a
No, no, no. It's not 35th. It was in the 1999 movie.
Was it?
oh,
Okay.
maybe.
Okay.
It's
I thought they had a
what
big
is math
anniversary.
when you do 4 minus 1999? 25th.
Okay, 25th. Oh, okay.
Oh,
And
we'll get
there
there.
was something else. There was something else that was more like a 35th anniversary. I went, "What?
Uh-huh.
No." So, yeah.
You might be thinking of my birthday that is this month, Becky, but that's going to be a 33rd anniversary.
Well, somebody else I know
Feel
is having
free
a
to
birthday
send me. Yeah.
today, and they are 36. And I
Oh,
was like, "Oh, what? No way." Because I knew them when they were like little bitty kid. I was like, that can't be possible.
for my birthday, I would like JumpCloud to give me 1 kilobyte extra for every year that I've been alive in my private repo. So I would just like 33 kilobytes more. That's all I'm asking.
There you go. All right.
Josh will make it happen.
There you go.
Dear Josh, on my 33rd birthday,
Oh, Active Directory is also 25 years old now. Wow.
Active Directory and The Matrix came out the same year. Hmm, suspicious.
Hmm.
I'm gonna
Okay,
start
well
a thread on Reddit.
we are over time, and I know Nathan already dropped because he had to go to the next thing. So thank you all for joining us. Again, for those of you who joined just a tiny bit late, we did start the demo right away. You can go back and watch the beginning of this here on Crowdcast or on our YouTube playlist where we have all of the IT Hour episodes. And as we mentioned, on the 26th, Sirhat and Mustafa from Resmo are going to be on here, and it is our 100th episode.
Wait, I have
So
to turn on the thing. Where's the celeb reactions? Turn on. Okay.
I can
Do the
do,
thing. Yes.
yes. I'm going to do all of
I got
them.
it.
All of them.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Wait, balloons too. So look forward to seeing everyone. Well, of course, the next couple of weeks too. Don't skip just waiting for the 100th episode. But we're going to try and do something fun and amazing. We don't know what it's going to be yet, but we're going to be figuring it out by the time that episode comes along at the end of April. So make sure you join us. Tell all your friends because we're planning on some cool stuff. And yes, there will probably be giveaways. We don't know what yet, but you know us, we will figure it out and make sure that it's amazing. There was a big roar right when you said that, so I didn't even hear what it was.
Where did that come from?
I think it was a car driving by because I have my mic open.
Okay.
Yeah, all I heard was this roar.
That too. That's what it is. It's a dinosaur.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Thanks for joining us. Have a wonderful weekend. Hopefully it's great weather. Winter is trying to come back here because it was 40 degrees this morning, but hopefully it'll be nice weather over the weekend, and hope you have a great one. And we will see you next week. Take care, all.
Bye, everybody.